This MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Meyer Auto Service, Havlicek Trucking, and Birdnow Chevrolet. We're with head coach Dan Anderson as you get set for week number one against the Crestwood Cadets. And coach, obviously last year an historically good season for your football program. And this is a new group. It's a different group. But what are the characteristics about last year's team that you want to carry over and become pillars of your program?
Well, great question. We want to make sure that the kids, they believe in what we do, and they still do. Obviously, they've seen a lot of success, so that helps. They understand our philosophies. We are who we are, and we don't try to be something that we're not. We want to make sure that these kids understand that football is an important part of their life, but it's not their whole life, and the things that they learn in football hopefully can carry over to real world and real life experiences. I mean, they're only going to be doing football for so many years, and then they're going to be, they're going to be dads, and they're going to be in the workforce, and they're hopefully they learn things in football that I try to teach in my science classes, but football is a great avenue to teach those things, and we just hope that our kids continue to have the same attitudes, attention to detail, and understanding that there's a difference between pretty good and perfection. And we're always striving to be perfect in what we do. And we don't settle for, that looked pretty good in practice. We tell them to do it again. So those are the kinds of things we look for.
What's pleased you the most about the guys in practice in preseason camp to this point?
Well, their attitudes have been very good. And there has been, the attention to detail and the understanding that kids are coachable. What I mean by that is that they understand that you can get better, and that the things that we're asking them to do, they don't roll their eyes, and they understand. We try to teach the game. So our coaching staff tries to teach the game so that if these guys ever end up being coaches themselves, they understand not just what we're doing, but the reason for it. Why are we stepping with that foot, and why are we wrong arming that kick out block? I mean, what's the purpose? I mean, I can teach that, but the understanding for why we're doing that. And so I think that it makes really smart football players and kids that have a high football IQ. And so far, that, and the fact that this team really doesn't have any egos at all. Not that any teams in the past have, but this team it's they're pretty blue collar guys. I mean, we did graduate 7 All-Staters. And so, I mean, these guys, there's going to be some new names out there that people don't usually hear on the radio and then see their names in the newspaper. But it's not that they're not talented kids. It's not that they maybe aren't they didn't start last year, but obviously they really contributed and were a big part of our success in going to the state championship game.
And obviously, as you know, and every football coach knows, to give yourself a chance to have some in-season success, you got to do the work in the off season when nobody is looking. How was your off season?
It was good. It was great. Really, could always be better. I mean, unless I have 100% attendance all summer long and in the off season, it could always be better. It's kind of the way we talk about things. With if you didn't run for a touchdown every play, we could always do better, right? If there's not 11 guys laying on the ground after the play on the defense, then there's always room for improvement, right? So that's the motto we have, and kind of But the fact is, most of our guys were in the weight room the day after. Actually, I take it back. Not the day after the state championship game. That's the one day we took off. But then the next Monday they were back in the weight room again, and they were in there all summer long. We had great participation, not only by our older kids, but our younger kids. There's been a lot of freshmen and sophomores in the weight room all summer long and continue to be now. Our numbers, don't lie when it comes to speed and strength. We're not quite what we were last year, but we're not far behind. We have Avery Thornton on our team is the strongest kid that's ever come through our football program. He smashed our lifting records, and he is just an ox. He's 6'2", 250, and plays guard for us and D-line. Just a kid that you hope every young kid follows in his footsteps and shows that much improvement in the weight room. But he's not the only one. We have a lot of guys that got faster. Worked with one of our assistant coaches, Carter Decker, who obviously used to play for us and was a state track guy. He works with our speed program with our guys, and it's amazing some of the improvements, not only in strength but in speed. Keith Anderson being one of them. It's just amazing. He ran like last year like a 5.55 And, it's hard to get a lot faster. It's easier to get stronger, but Keith went from a 5.40 to a 4.9 in 1 year. So he's obviously, the speed stuff we do is definitely working.
And you didn't have a season like you did last year, and you haven't had the run currently like you are currently on without a lot of effort and a lot of work going into that. Is that something that, just from a mentality standpoint with your guys, has carried over, knowing the fact that, yes, it was great to have the success you did last year and the success you've had before that, but they realize it doesn't just happen. You have to put the time in.
Yeah, you certainly hope so, that this group realizes that it's a new team every year. And, just because those teams ahead of you have, done amazing things, and, 5 straight years to the quarterfinals or further, last year to the finals, that doesn't guarantee any success this year. And so they need to continue to work, because you have new guys every year, but that's a good thing. People often ask me, boy, I bet you're going to miss some of those seniors, and I'll miss them on a personal level. Great kids. I'm going to, cherish those, years coaching those guys. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to some of these new guys getting a chance to show our community and their families and their friends themselves, what they can do on the football field too. And so, I excited about that. And, our coaching staff, my coaches are awesome. I mean, my assistant coaches do most of the work there. And I'm kind of the manager, and they I ask them to do things, and I can sit back and practice and let them coach. And I trust my coaches. And I think that's really important, to trust your coaches to do what you want done. I got to make the tough decisions, but they do most of the work in practice.
How have you gotten to that point as a coach? Because I'm guessing you weren't always there, but you've gotten to that point. How has that happened?
Trial and error, hey, you look back at my early career, I was gung ho. I didn't have all the success, Darren. Back in the early 2000s, when I had my first stint as a head coach, I was 9-26.
Yeah.
9-26, and it's not that we didn't have some good players, but I was young. I was, sometimes in life, it's just there's no experience, right? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I just that's you got to sometimes take some lumps to learn, but you learn from your mistakes. And I've done that as a coach. And I've learned that you got to trust your coaches, and coach your coaches on what you want them to do. And if they all buy in, you're going to have success. And we have had success, and we hope to continue that.
And it's the Crestwood Cadets, your opponent in week number 1. What are you expecting out of them come Friday night?
Physical, right? Coach Denner, what a great job he's done over there the last few years. I mean, not only with the wins and losses, but just to instilling his own style of football in the Crestwood football program. I mean, there is not a team on our schedule that is more like us than Crestwood. Now, X's and O's, there's some differences here and there, but structurally, defensively, they're very similar to us. They have an identity, and everybody knows what it is. We have an identity, and everybody knows what that is. We both love to run the ball and try to bully the other team, right? And that's what Cresco is going to want to do to us. That's what we're going to want to do to them. They've got some great athletes. They've got back, I think, 8 starters on defense, 7 or 8 on offense. It's just some outstanding athletes. Skoda played running back last year, and I believe he's moved to running or to quarterback. And Voina is tough as nails, linebacker and back. And, they've got all kinds of linemen back, Eastless and Hart and Ludwig and Fett and a bunch of these guys that are just tough, physical kids with the right attitude. I think that Coach Denner and I, if we ever were on the same staff, we'd get along great, because we have the same style of football and beliefs. And although there might be a few differences in X's and O's, we both, have the same mentality, and we try to coach our kids, I think, the same way. So we have a ton of respect for Crestwood and Coach Denner and his staff and his players, because they play football the right way.
When you're facing a team with a similar mentality, does that make it easier to get ready for a game like this, or does that present some challenges getting ready for a game like this?
I think it could be some of both. Like schematically, they're a gap scheme, and so are we. So, hey, I know what causes us problems when we're trying to run certain plays, and if we're trying to run power or sweep or belly or, ISO and things like that. I know what causes problems. So hopefully our defensive schemes will be able to take those things away. But obviously, they probably understand what gives them problems and going to do the same thing to us. Our kids understand what they're in for. This is not basketball on grass week. You know what I mean? This is a physical, old school style smash fest out there, and kids are going to be bruised and battered on both sides of the, Cresco and MFL MarMac boys are going to be beat up physically after this game. And, we just hope we're on the winning side, but it should be one heck of a ball game over there on Friday night.
All right, it ought to be a dandy Friday night, as you mentioned. Keep your kids healthy, Coach. We wish best of luck.
All right. Thanks, Darren.
This MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Birdnow Chevrolet.